call on Marie Wood, if she would give us the invocation, please.
Okay, let us pray. Our Heavenly Father, as we enter this Christmas season, may we all remember the reason for this special time of year. May we show each other the love and support you give us on a daily basis. As we open our meeting this evening, our Heavenly Father, please lead us in our actions, direct us in our speech, and show us your will. And may our meeting be positive to all concerned. In your Son's holy name I pray. Amen. Amen.
Please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We always have a time for public comments at our redevelopment commission meeting, so if you'd like to speak on any topic about redevelopment, if you will come forward to the microphone and state your name and address and whether or not you live in the city.
My name is Marty Adams. I don't live in the city limits, but I was born in the city limits. I work for the city. I own a Mega Antique Mall on Main Street. And the only thing I want to say is that I have so many people from out there come in every day. And they want to comment on how beautiful our town is, how good it looks, and how many things there are to do. You know, we've got a brochure rack. And on the brochure rack, it has a list of, I think the DBA puts out a list of all the events happening throughout the city. And they just can't get over how much activity we have downtown. They're just happy to be in a small place that's friendly and that's charming. And I have people that come once a month from Charlotte, Raleigh, Greensboro. They come back to Mount Airy once a month just to shop. You know, and that says a lot for our downtown. And I really want to thank like Michelle, that keeps the city beautiful. You know, we've added a little mini park downtown. We were doing the sidewalk thing, and I think that's an added attraction to our city. We have plenty of parking. We just have a great downtown. A lot of people, they don't understand how come we have such a good downtown, and they have a bigger town, and they can't get people to come downtown and shop. So I just want to say that, you know, whatever we're doing, we're doing great, because we're having more people come, and you know, everybody downtown is growing. Their sales are growing, and you know, I invite you, if you hadn't shopped downtown, come down and shop. There's really nice people. It's a friendly atmosphere, and it's a great place to shop. Thank you.
Thank you. Does anyone else wish to speak? Well, thank all of you for coming tonight, and we appreciate your interest. And when during the meeting tonight, I'd like to remind all the redevelopment commission members that you'll speak into the microphone so everybody can hear you, the secretary and all the people that are here tonight too. I'd like to call on Martin Collins for items number 6 and 7 on the agenda.
My name is Martin Collins. I work for the city in community development, and I'm going to make some comments to the Redevelopment Commission regarding brownfields. It goes back a ways, but about 15 months ago, not in this room, but I was standing in front of the Redevelopment Commission. It was much newer then, and I spoke to them on a number of things, but one of the things that we talked about some was something called the Brownfields Agreement. And I'm going to get in the weeds a little bit here, but hopefully it'll make some sense to you. The North Carolina Department, in the past we called them DENR, Department of Environmental and Natural Resources. It's now the North Carolina Department of Waste Management and Environmental Quality. They have a department in there, and it is the Brownfields program. One of the things that you can get from the Brownfields program is something called a brownfields agreement. And it's a lengthy process, and as I mentioned, we're probably about 15 months along now. There were things that we had to do before we could be considered eligible for the Spencer's property, the tract of land that the city owns. And got some direction from the city, the board, and they said, well, get on with it. So anyway, one of the things that we've been able to do is we've been able to get some grant money from the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA money, and what it paid for was some assessments at the site. We've essentially done 2 assessments over at Spencer's, one that was finished last December, and one that was actually finished a few months ago, and we got the results and got them off to the Brownfields program. And on November the 24th, we received a letter from them, and it told us that we were eligible to enter. Kind of coinciding with some of this activity, back in March of this year, we actually sent them an application asking whether we could get into the Brownfields program. What is a Brownfields agreement, and why is it important as far as the Spencer's property is concerned? You have all this property out here in America, in places like Mount Airy, old gas stations, old commercial properties, old industrial properties, etc. And when they go vacant, it's like when your friend shows up with a flu. You don't want to get too close. You might get sick. But the reality of it is the state of North Carolina and the Brownfields program, they would like to see these properties reused. It's a little bit more complication. And that's why we had to do this environmental assessment work and get them that information. It was actually awfully good as far as the results were concerned. The property as a mixed use, as a proposed use that would include residential, which is the highest standard, even though that some of that area over there has been used for, say, 125 years or more for industry. It is clean. They did a lot of soil and water samples, and it's really, really clean. There was only one area, it's a small area, it's the old boiler room, probably a room that's not much bigger than the one that we're standing in, has 2 big industrial boilers in there. That's the only area that, as it sits right now, that you really wouldn't want to do residential in. Now, why am I standing before you tonight? As we kind of move to this next step, we're not just eligible to enter, we could enter. And I'm here, I guess, first of all, to really maybe talk about what it would cost. Because as I've said, up until this point, we paid for the work using grant funds. But now, this is something, as a property owner, we'll probably have to pay these costs ourselves to get the agreement. A Brownfields agreement, to make it as simple as possible, is really sort of the rules and procedures where you can redevelop a property like Spencer's. It really limits the liability for any future developer. The great thing about it is once you get that agreement, it's transferable. The city owns all the property now, would be the logical party to seek the Brownfields agreement. But the city could then sell it to multiple parties. And if one of those parties invested in the property and wanted to sell it in the future, the benefits of the Brownfields agreement would transfer with it. The big deal is it allows developers to anticipate what their actual cost of converting it in, say, to a widget factory. They can actually anticipate that cost because they know what will be required. To give you a quick example, if you maybe want to tear some section of the building down and reuse that for another purpose, you may get into some soils, and there would be some rules, some methods that would be used for handling those soils on the property over there. Okay? But once that agreement's in place, the cost will be something that they can budget and anticipate. It won't be an open-ended thing. Now, how long will it take to get to the brownfields agreement from tonight if we were starting on the next phase tonight? 18 to 24 months. Remember, we're about 15 months in, so but the clock's been ticking anyway. So we're this far along. We're at 15 months in, and we've got a lot of the work done that will put us in a position to negotiate the agreement. Now, there is another program that they have. They have sort of a standard process, and they have something, and I won't quite call it expedited processing, but there's a means to cut the time that it takes to get the agreement. You have to pay an additional fee, and you have to pay it up front. I won't get into that tonight because I thought we would start out with standard processing, which, if you choose to go forward, would take about 18 to 24 months. Obviously, we would do everything we could do it in 18 months or less, but take that as far as a time frame to get it completed. What are the requirements to move forward? Now, with that letter that said we are eligible, we also received an invoice for $2,000. That's the entry fee. That's what it takes. That's what it costs to get in and see the movie. We would have to pay that, and then at the point that we paid that, we could begin the process of moving forward. And there are a number of tasks that have to be completed to get all the way to this agreement. And there's some cost associated with that. And that cost range for a standard agreement, given the size of the Spencer's property and so on, estimated to be $25,000 to $32,000. Because I know everybody always wants to get a little bit towards the sticker shock, and remember that is an estimate. Okay. Now, what would $32,000 potentially pay for? Well, I'm just going to kind of break it down by the big tasks. One of the big tasks is a survey, a boundary survey of the property. Place all the current buildings on there. Every one of those 59 soil samples that were taken, every water sample in the location where it was taken and so on. All of those things would be placed on a plat and a survey. And that's something that is going to become a part of this brownfields agreement if we decide to proceed forward. That's half of the $32,000 right there. Professional services. $8,000, a full 25% of that $32,000, if it goes that high, will be fees that are paid directly to the North Carolina Brownfields program. 2,000 of those are due if we decide to move forward. The other 6 would be due when the agreement was completed. It goes through a process where it's available for public comment, and as you seal a thing up, you have to pay them $6,000. So 2 and 6 is $8,000. About 19% of that money would be for the current environmental consultant that we use. The name of that company is Apex. Apex has gotten us from where we started last August of 2014 to here. They've done a great job. We've done things like remove tanks there and so on. We got through all of that process. Fine, the tanks have been closed. And so they've been very good. They've looked out for our interests and have done an incredible job. So maybe about 19% of that would be for professional consulting to help us negotiate the agreement and make sure that all of our interests and concerns are taken care of. And then the last thing is a soil management plan. That relates back to all those samples that were taken. It would, for example, if you had to do something like put in a new water line or a new sewer line, based on where you would dig those trenches and that soil that come out, could it be something that would just be piled up on site, along with some sort of runoff remediation? Or, there could be a situation, for example, if you dug up soil in the area around the boiler room where that soil might have to be removed and replaced. That would obviously affect the cost. If you leave it on site and put it back, much less expensive versus removing and replacing. So that's where I'm going to stop and see if there's any questions.
Yeah, how much is eligible for grants? Are there any grants to help that?
Well, again, we're at the point now for this, since the city's a property owner, and this is a thing that will be negotiation, that these will be costs that will have to be paid locally if we choose to move forward. Because it's a specific set of tasks, and these particular tasks, there's no EPA money for. Any other questions, please?
This breakdown
Sure.
that we have, these are some opportunities, or these are things that's going to have to be done anyway, right? Whether they do it or not, right?
Well, what I would say, and I'm going to step out there and say, if I was working in the private sector, if I were advising family, and they own this property, I would say, yes, you absolutely want a brownfields agreement. It's incredibly important because it lessens liability and it makes the costing something that can be anticipated versus who knows how much it'll cost. That creates a lot of worries and concern. Now, the Redevelopment Commission actually, what you have is a very straightforward sort of boiling down. They've got a couple of other documents. One of those documents is from the consultant, and it actually breaks those tasks down. But without the brownfields agreement, I'm going to read a paragraph, and y'all just bear with me. I know this will be painful. But this is the actual, not the actual, it's a copy of the letter that we received saying, hey, you made it through to this point, you're eligible now. You get to participate and you're a candidate for the voice, let's say. But one of the things they get on over here, and this is in the second page, they say, please note, pending execution of a final brownfields agreement. The program, the North Carolina Brownfields eligibility, it's provisional, meaning we have no protection right now as the property sits. We're ready to get protected, but we don't currently have an insurance policy in effect, if you wanted to call the Brownfields agreement like insurance, but it's obviously not an insurance policy. The protections of the brownfields agreement offer the prospective developer, or we're the property owner or the developer, are not in effect unless and until the brownfield agreement is executed. That's 18 months away, if we choose to move forward with it. If you occupy the property or operate or conduct activities at the site that result in the release of any substances before the agreement has been finalized for the property, you would be considered to have caused and contributed to the contamination on the property, which that would mean the developer, the owner at that point, would be liable as a causative party. We're a non-causative party right now. We just own the property. We know the condition of the property as it was when we purchased it. Those environmentals tell us that. So all of that is currently defined, but we do not have this brownfields agreement. So that's the thing that I would point out. I'm not going to read the rest of the paragraph. But, if we start developing, if someone starts developing that property and activities go, that's why it's all locked up. We let people in to look at it and assess it and that sort of thing. But, there's no one storing anything over there. There's no one running a recycling operation. It's essentially exactly the way it was when it was purchased. And we want to keep it that way until the point that we would have potentially a brownfields agreement in place. That make any sense?
Yeah. And I think, Martin, you've done a great job and to get us to this point. And, I think that we need to proceed with it, and I'll make a motion that we approve the $2,000 fee so that we can go to the next step. I think that one of some of the costs will be a little bit lower because there's already been some surveying there already. And since that's about half the cost of it, it should be some savings in that.
That being a motion, I'll second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second, any discussion? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
I'll call on Vice Chair Chip Williams to talk about the changes in the redevelopment plan.
Probably don't have enough handouts of maps that Andy Goodall here in the planning office was kind enough to generate for this committee earlier today. But I do have some that I'd like to just have distributed so that each of you can look on. As you know, to catch people up who, just for our own benefit, back in September, I think we presented our 89-page redevelopment plan. There's a very methodical process that has to go through for the city to adopt it. We are about halfway through that. As part of the ongoing work that this committee has continues to do, we, last meeting in November, I made a presentation of a proposal for a space within the redevelopment area that we're going to call the revitalization zone. The blue area on the map that you have is an overlay map of that zone. And I'm going to talk, we're all going to discuss some of the attributes of that, why we're doing it, and what benefits for landowners that can benefit and realize from this zone. What this is basically taking a aerial view of a specific space within the redevelopment area, and you can see where the delineated lines are. This is a program that is a three-phased program. The revitalization zone is separate and apart of the area that's proposed in the big thick document. And here are some of the key points. The zone is there to support local property and business owners in improving and voluntarily choosing to make improvements on their properties. It offers a flexible combination of a financial assistance program, which I'm going to go over here in just a minute. These grants, and they are all grants, are forgivable grants after a period of 3 years. Phase 1 is for a 4-year period, and it will allow for a 50% reimbursement up to $50,000 of eligible expenses. Phase 2 is for a 2-year period after that, into Phase 1. That's for a 30% reimbursement up to $30,000. And Phase 3 is for an additional 2 years after that, and it's a 15% reimbursement up to $15,000. There are very similar to the facade program that's part of the downtown area that we already have. There's an application process, there's a review process, there's a monitoring process and a completion process. All that's very detailed. No reason to go into that tonight. But that is the overview of this revitalization zone. Within that zone, there are 2 more additional grant opportunities. Marie Wood's going to talk about one, and then I'm going to come back and talk about the second.
The one I have to talk about is the facade improvement grant incentive, which is available to property owners within the revitalization zone, which they could use, they could make improvements to their property up to we reimburse up to $15,000 or 50% of your total cost if it's less than $15,000. Did I say that correct? This grant would be administered by the RDC and by the help of the planning department. The specifics of the grant would be on the site once this is approved by a committee, that you can go and get full details on how this grant works. That's just free. It's just mostly for the painting of the side walls of your business, improving the landscaping. It's for external improvements, not for internal improvements. And there's extensive list within this grant. And it's made possible through the annual appropriation of the City of Mount Airy to the Redevelopment Commission. And as I said, it's going to be available on the site, the website, after tonight, I hope.
Then the third leg to this program is a demolition grant. They all run in conjunction with each other. They are all interlocked with each other. But the demolition grant is for any property owner who chooses to repurpose their building by taking it down. The demolition grant is an ongoing grant within this revitalization zone. There's no end date to it. It is financed. It is coordinated through us and the planning department, and it is financed through appropriations of the city finance department. It will provide 100% of the demolition, a reimbursement of 100% of the demolition costs. There are, again, specifics, requirements that are required to be met before it's done. It's, of course, a reimbursable thing. There's no advance money made until after the project is completed and approved by the city. So that there is, for lack of a ton of details, that is the overview of the revitalization zone with the 3 programs that we have developed. to help private property owners in this zone, in this area, in this space, to encourage them to help improve their properties. Now, we talked about this last month. We presented it last month in a small capsule. This is a bit more, so we'll entertain any questions or comments at this time.
I just have one, just kind of comment or concern or question, I guess you'd say. The basalt one says you get 12 months to do it, and the demo was just 2 months. Is there any, I guess, what's the significance of 2 months? That could seem a bit quick to me, if you were down on building that.
I think it's 2 months from approval
And then the basalt.
to begin the process, to begin your demolition. Facade has a start date, has an end date. It's a reimbursable amount, so we do know that some business owners might be required to get financing until the completion of the work. Do you want to change that?
No, not necessarily, just a question. Takes a lot less time to tear something down than it is to build. Just a thing.
I think I want to stress, this is voluntary. It allows people to participate in what we're challenged to do, which is provide improvements for this area and this area of town and this section of town. Great thing is forgivable. A couple of other things that people brought up as I've discussed it with, is that it recognizes the value of the businesses that are there in many years. Some of them have been there for decades. And we want to build those bridges and not hinder them from continuing to do business. It helps protect the property values and the property owners around this area. The other great thing about this revitalization zone is this is not a government program, it's a self-imposed, self-directed program, and it can be, if it's successful in this area, it can be duplicated in other areas of town. Take a choice. It could be down much, anywhere it can be done. And there are cities, including Hickory, that have utilized this since about 2009, I think. They've been very successful at it. Richmond, Virginia, has been extremely successful for about 20 years with it. It is not something new or newly invented. It has been in existence a long time, but we have studied it, and we like it, and we think it helps identify what we're challenged and charged to do.
I just want to, under the guidelines on number 4, unless the process is changed, it says upon completion of the demolition project, your project will be inspected by the city planning department to assure compliance with the application as approved. I know for demolition you have to get both the city and the county permit, but I think it's the county building inspector that does the final, unless it's changed in the last few months. The county building inspector is the one that.
What page are you on? On the demolition grant document?
Yep. Under the guidelines, number 4. We'll just have to check on that and see, but as of recently, it was the county building inspector that had to do the final inspection.
Okay, now that can certainly be added.
I just want to ask one question on on the first page and some other pages on the demolition grant, the last sentence in the first paragraph says the program is offered to further the goal of revitalizing the west side redevelopment area. That's on the grant program, and on the other, the facade improvement, it says redevelopment district. And I think there's some other areas that may need to be changed from district to area, especially with facade improvements.
Read these things 1,100 times and they all kind of work hard. One other thing, that if we move forward with this, this will become an addendum into our redevelopment plan. And I think I see on our agenda that our redevelopment plan is up for public hearing in January. So this will be added on our website, on our section of the city's website as an addendum, and would be an insert in that actual document.
Does anybody have any questions?
Chip, could you walk a little slower through, you talked about forgivable grants. I assume the grant comes from some form of government to start with, and then it's forgiven, you said after 3 years?
Three calendar years after completion of the project.
That's the 50/50 type of grant you're talking about.
That's all three of them. Yes, sir.
That includes the demolition grant?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That answers the question. Thank you.
Did you ask about how it's funded?
Well, essentially, that's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
gotcha. Okay. That's
Well,
fine.
well, the demolition, did you say something about the city as directed to the demolition grant? Does that additional funding work differently from the other two grants?
Not really. It's, it would require an application. It would require, some, approval by the planning department, by us, and the issuance of a certificate of commitment or letter of commitment. The demolition grant would be used very sparingly, just because I don't think, there's no reason, it's not there to encourage it, it's there to allow in case that's an option. There's enough leeway that we think that this is going to allow the city, with Barbara Jones and Pam Stone, advance notice and advance time to make appropriations in the city budget, and it's not something that's approved, for instance, tonight, and has to be acted on next week.
So, if he chose to do that and go through that process and chose to demolish what we had, he would fund it out of pocket,
Correct.
and then he would be reimbursed by the city.
By this grant program. And the interesting thing, and Tom Webb may be able to provide a bit more information, we none know all the grant options that are out there and available from year to year or quarter to quarter. Government grants are plentiful. And if there is a grant for a demolition of a specific property that meets criteria for a grant, we by all means are going to apply for that to help offset the cost for reimbursement.
I think, Mr. Pritchard, just to clarify, the grant, be it a facade grant or demolition grant or whatever the grant is, would actually flow through the redevelopment commission, because that's a specific power of redevelopment commissions, is to offer financing and grants, loans, to further the purposes of redevelopment. Cities don't have that authority in their budgets to make allocations to private property owners in the same way that the redevelopment commission does. So I think what this board is envisioning is some administrative role of the city planning department, but the budget and the funding and the review and the approval of the grant applications would have to come through the redevelopment commission, not the city of Mount
Yes.
I have a question, and looking at the black dotted lines, outlining the whole district, I have a question about particularly on the corner of Willow and Franklin. According to this map, it appears as if Gardner, the former Gardner building is included, whereas it has not ever been included on any previous maps. Is this one correct, including the Gardner building?
The black line is not the line that is drawn for the revitalization zone, nor is it the line for the redevelopment area. Andy Goodall had to do that to place this blue image on top. So that black dotted line that surrounds the complete, and then specifically the area you're talking about, has nothing to do with this revitalization zone at all. The revitalization zone is from the blue line, or the blue, everything that's colored in blue to the west is included in this revitalization
I
zone.
understand that, but up here under, the ledger says it's the west side NRRA, it has the Gardner building included.
That's part of.
It was, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was added a couple of months after our initial look at this thing because it was inadvertently marked out in the original map. Again, the specific area we're talking about is just the area colored in blue.
For that zone, but
Correct.
the demolition grants or the whole thing.
Demolition grant,
The site is what that.
correct. And one more thing this is strictly for commercial properties only. It would have to be there are 2 residential properties in this area, in the redevelopment area. This plan does not address residential because it's not allowed to, it's specific to commercial. The question becomes, as I said, this is a 3-pronged process, a 3-pronged financial assistance program and grant program. The one that oversees all of it was the first one that I discussed, which is phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. Within that program, within that umbrella, we're designating the revitalization zone. The purpose is the same as these others, is to help business owners and property owners address and improve properties as they see fit on a voluntary basis. It's a reimbursable program. It is a refundable program. What else?
That's it, that's all I can do is some progress.
Okay. Sorry. Any other questions?
Well, Drew, at what point, or where and how soon can the private property owners be able to review this?
We plan, several of us plan to start going tomorrow morning to visit the owners as they're available. We, the committee, need to do that. We've got some maps and have the documents, and we think we're the best ones to communicate at this point. We do hope that they will ask us questions. We're here to help answer and do anything we can to help them. There's no hurry on this thing. But this will be presented in the public meeting in January, or be allowed for discussion, formal discussion in January.
Does anyone else have any questions? Yes?
You're saying that the property owners determine what they want to do to their property themselves, or do you guys make suggestions on what needs to be done to their property?
We want as much property involvement in their own decisions as possible. We certainly are going to provide technical assistance, design planning assistance at no extra cost, and suggestions, but we certainly cannot direct or dictate precisely what a property owner would do.
But by that same token, it's kind of like our facade in the downtown area, we got to approve that, they can't come out with a big neon hotel sign, coming flashing and things of that nature. And it has to be something that it will, go with the area and benefit everyone there.
And it's a good question, ma'am, and it's, the wording in the document, in the minutia of the document says that really try to encourage that there be a consistency with the historical nature of the properties within downtown Mount Airy as a whole.
Okay, any other questions? All right. Is there a motion to second to approve?
I'll make a motion that we approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Next item on the agenda is setting of a public hearing for the redevelopment plan for Wednesday, January the 13th, 2016 at 5:30 p.m. Is there a motion and a second to approve?
Make that motion.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Is there any old business? Any other new business? Is there a motion to adjourn? There were a lot of motions. And a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right.
Good job.